Welcome back to my Growing Lemon Trees from Seed series. It's 2024, July, day 1636. So you can see there's growth, but at the same time, there's a little bit burning of the leaves or whatever that is. And I have a lot of theories on what that is, and I'll go more into it as I show you more of these clips and progression of the days. But this is not too bad at that point. So where the last episode picked off was there was basically a resurrection. I transplanted into this much bigger planter. I believe the inner diameter is 20 inches by 20 inches. Each inch is 2.54 centimeters. So that's like half a meter times half a meter. It's about that deep too. So this is a huge pot. It's all cocoa coir. And I figured this transplant, like with all my other plants, it should do wonders for this plant in the long run. So I think that's already paying off dividends. So I have a spray bottle with a little bit of this, left over from, I don't know how long ago I bought this bottle. Maybe it's been 3 or 4 years or whatever, 2 or 3 years. Bayer Bio Advanced 3-in-1. I always wonder if this stuff goes bad, but this is all I have right now. So sorry for the awkwardness of not using a tripod on this and just kind of rotating around manually, but it's always sort of a balance between how much work I want to put into this per clip and just covering stuff rough and tumble sometimes. So it's July and it's warming up, so yeah, it's basically summer and this thing is growing, but as you can see, some of these leaves are, it's sort of a fungal rot, I would say. And this is a problem that's plagued this plant since almost the very beginning. I think if you watch that like first 1 year compilation or the first year's worth of episodes where I'm growing in my friend's condo balcony where there's several months of the year where it just doesn't even get sun. I mean, the leaves look pretty healthy and it just grew straight up in the beginning, but after a while, I started to notice these, like little yellowings. It always starts off as little yellow dots, and it's very disappointing because I don't like to have all my leaves marred and disfigured. So it's not just like yellow dots that morph and turn into some of these like curled leaves. It could be spider mites as well, but I'm not entirely convinced that that's the case because that pattern is not really something that I think spider mites produce. It doesn't quite look like it. And you can see at the bottom there's leaves that are, some of the tips are burned. So, I mean, there's always the possibility of fertilizer burn as well. I mean, I have everything liquid going in the right proportions, but as the sun beats down during the summer, you can imagine that dries everything out into the cocoa coir, and then now the root system in certain parts, especially the top third maybe where it dries out quickest, are sort of encountering, they're right next to fertilizer or highly fertilized dry cocoa coir or just barely damp. And then it occurred to me that the concentration of the fertilizer could be higher in those cases. And clearly the Bayer Bio Advanced, it's keeping the bugs off, I would say, but it's not necessarily doing a great job preventing this eventual yellowing of the leaves. So you can see there's a giant swallowtail, the yellow and black darting butterfly's egg on the top there. So I'm gonna have to deal with that, and I'm not entirely sure that the Bayer Bio Advanced works against those because I have yet to directly test that and see if it just kills the caterpillars on contact. But yeah, you could see there's new foliage. It looks great, and then after a few days, a few weeks, it starts yellowing like that. So this is what these giant swallowtail eggs look like, and they're surprisingly hard to get off. So they're very well stuck. They're probably glued on by some kind of protein mixture that it's just like glue basically. And so yeah, there's a baby caterpillar, bird poop caterpillar, basically in there. And yeah, the leaves, I mean, there's a little bit of dried residue from, I don't know, like hard water or something on one of those leaves, but you can see the main problem is just this marring of the leaves. And with it starts off as these yellow dots, which you can see on this one of the higher leaves on the right there. It gets these yellow dots, and then as days go by, the leaves become very dog-eared. So this is a problem I'm going to have to address very soon. I'll show you in later clips how I started to combat this. So I was very disappointed as the foliage started to get all dog-eared like this. And yeah, you can see an empty egg actually on the lower right there, one of the small leaves. So that means caterpillars are hatching, and I know there's predation by birds. And despite all that though, and lizards coming by and birds, patrolling, as I showed you in 2023, the bird poop caterpillars get really big really quickly. So within a period of like 2 or 3 weeks of a very heavy infestation, the entire thing just gets denuded and overrun, which is terrible. But this fungal rot is something I've suspected for a long time, since, as I was saying, maybe from the beyond the 1 year mark until now. And this thing's already 4.63 years old as of the end of this episode. It's just basically, yeah, it's almost like 3.5 years of this kind of disease, which I thought, maybe it's a plant virus being brought in by parasites. Maybe it's fungal disease, and it's not really root rot. That's not the phenotype that's produced by root rot either. So, I always suspected this thing was diseased. And I even thought to myself, maybe it's just, it doesn't have, good immune resistance, genetic resistance to diseases. And I'm not directly planting it in the ground. It doesn't have that mycorrhizal relationship with mushrooms, I don't think. Granted, I don't have, the microscopes and, the zoom, basically, and the macro capabilities to even look at the pests, much less what's on the roots at a cellular level. But yeah, I would say, yeah, some of these bottom leaves, I mean, they look okay, but yeah, this is not fertilizer burn as some people think it is. They just blame everything on the fertilizer. This is clearly something else, and yeah, that egg is hatched. So here's a demonstration of saturation watering with tap water before fertilization. So it's a change in my thought process, innovation, change in protocol that I've had lately with all my plants. So this is the ice cream bean tree. It gets really, really thirsty, like super mega thirsty. This is the thirstiest plant I've ever had. Remember early on I had, if you've been with me since the very beginning, I had a sweet wormwood series that was one of the most thirsty plants I've ever had. I could water every day with tap water, just sprinkle Miracle-Gro blue crystals on top, not even care about proper dilution or concentration, not following the instructions, and the plant was perfectly healthy. So it's a weedy, very disease resistant, completely fertilizer burn resistant plant, and it was growing so fast I had to trim it. I could fertilize water every single day, and the tray would be bone dry by within the hour usually. So that's a very extreme example, and I had a lot of vines that were just super thirsty, but this ice cream bean tree is the thirstiest plant I've ever had. It's very large, compound leaflets are huge, and it's just thirsty all the time. I can water like this, and I bet a lot of it just gets absorbed into the root system. So that's why I do this first. I fully hydrate the plant, and then when I go inside and do the mass fertilizer prep and come outside and eventually get to fertilizing, this pot can take on yet more water. So I have to do this for 5 to 10 minutes. It's a little unbearable, to be honest. It's just way too long, way too much water. drives up my water bill because this plant is like crazy thirsty. So then you see the water draining out of the drainage hole. So if this is the first time you're doing it like this, then sometimes that water that comes out could be nasty. It's got a lot of fertilizer, but mostly like rotting organic material juice, even though cocoa coir rots very slowly. And yeah, it could stink a little bit too, and it'll be a little bit like yellowish brown. So yeah, I'm scooping in what I would normally put into the green watering can that fits 1.75 gallons or 7 liters. And that does, it remains unchanged. But yeah, I'm lowering the Epsom salt concentration. Everyone says like 4 teaspoons about for 2 gallons of Epsom salt per month. But I'm fertilizing every week, so I can't have that much Epsom salt going in. That would be 4 times as much as everyone's internet recommendation. And I'm going to go a little lighter on the vitamins too, because in some weeks I may not do this. So you'll have to make adjustments as you see fit. I'm basically improvising on the fly here since it's summer and it's so hot and I need to water so much. So yeah, I saturate water first and then wait for the runoff, then do this. I reuse these cups. I just stack them after they dry, after I rinse them off. So yeah, nothing in here is greasy or anything like that. It's really easy to just like rinse away. So yeah, you get this beautiful blue. It's almost like a paint, you know, except it's completely water soluble, and it's just you know, crystallized minerals and elements, you know, dissolving like that. So yeah, the vitamins, they can actually form like these little orange streaks on the sink. Yeah, I don't know if is that like the copper or iron inside. Actually, I don't think these vitamins have iron. So yeah, this is how I do it. This is Bloom Booster cup. I just poured in. In later weeks, I started using hot water for this initial, you know, dissolving, and I would actually stir everything with a spoon to get it to dissolve, because by the time you rinse it off like this and you fill all the way until like the 7-liter mark with cold tap water, the whole thing is like room temperature anyway at that point, so it really doesn't matter. But adding in hot water initially will help you dissolve things considerably better. But the crushed vitamins, they have like little rocks, little pebbles essentially of you know, calcium carbonate, which is what the pills are made out of mostly. That provides a lot of volume, and cellulose too, which is the same you know, thing in plant walls. You know, the chained sugars that are not digestible by microbes, at least not very readily, not very quickly. So yeah, I'm not fertilizing a lot here because yeah, the plant is still small, I mean, in terms of foliage. So yeah, it's 2024 August, day 1668. I bought some new pesticides from Lowe's. This is a Malathion, a Spectracide insect spray concentrate. So my main bane here is the spider mites, but also I have to watch out for caterpillars, and you know, they have all these like pictures like mealybugs and whatever. I'm sure I get some of the other pests as well, but yeah, I've seen, especially in 2023, caterpillars, aphids. Well, the aphids, it was more on my mango, and yeah, so it's a myclobutanol. I believe I've covered this before. So yeah, I have an old bottle of Bayer BioAdvanced 3-in-1, which is multi-purpose, and I do believe they have a product that's similar with Spectracide, but I, for whatever reason, cannot find that in the big box stores or online. So yeah, I just made a custom mix like this of fungicide plus the insecticide from Spectracide, and I added in arbitrarily poured in amounts. I just kind of eyeballed it, so maybe this is too concentrated. That could lead to burning issues, which I'll discuss later on. And show you evidence for and against that argument. So this is still August. It's day 1674. So it's too early to say yet, But what I'm hoping to see here for the rest of the video, as I show you the clips as the days go by, is a cessation of this fungal rot. Because the more I look at this, the more I think it's a fungal rot. And yeah, you can see another egg there. Yeah, the bird poop caterpillar eggs are just, they show up every once in a while. The adult butterfly, the giant swallowtail, is very darty and erratic in its flight. And it seems to have like a hyper awareness of humans. So, you know, some insects, they don't seem to mind if you're right nearby, like the bumblebees. Like, it's like you could probably reach in and pet them and nothing much would happen. But yeah, those are very docile. But yeah, these giant butterflies, they dart away. They won't come around while I'm tending to these plants and filming them. But yeah, I could see them kind of hovering by because they smell the lemony scent, the citrus scent. They want to lay eggs on this thing so bad. And then, you know, when I go inside, like occasionally, you know, if I'm looking out the window, I might see a butterfly sneaking in to lay an egg. So yeah, they don't stop for very long. So yeah, the thorns look healthy. Those are the only things that don't seem to rot or go bad. But yeah, this is a textbook example of what I'm talking about, those yellow dots. So that's not the distribution of yellowing that you'd see from spider mites or fertilizer burn. You know, it's not at the tip. It's not at, I mean, yeah, some leaves, it looks like it could be a little bit of burn, but that doesn't explain why, like, there are so many leaves where you don't see like a tip burning of the leaves. But that could also happen to, you know, coincide with certain stages of leaf development. You know, maybe the new crop of leaves that we're looking at on the tops here, you know, those developed when the fertilizer was in lower concentration, or maybe the weather was more mild during that period, etc., etc. So there's a lot of factors to consider. And yeah, I can see a little bit of webbing there, little gossamer strand. Previously, like for some of the ice cream bean and the other plants, you know, I noticed a lot of webbing, and I was thinking to myself, okay, the entire front yard is infested with spider mites. But that's actually not true, because I noticed on my gate latch that you can see the upper left there for that, you know, the white picket fence. The gate latch is always covered in webbing, and spider mites have no interest in that, right? Because it's not something edible. So I think there are spiders as well. I'm just, you know, not really seeing them. So yeah, what I'm showing you here is some footage of my developing avocado seedlings, and I suspected after spraying with the spectricide in the spray bottle that I mentioned was perhaps too concentrated, right? That was what caused these little burnings. But that doesn't make sense in the context of, you know, the middle of the leaf, the two holes you just saw there. So I'm going to rewind a few days and show you me spraying the supposedly overconcentrated spectricide on random weeds. So during summer, it's kind of hard to water enough, and that little strip of dirt with various things mixed in, it's not very deep, so it doesn't hold much water. So these things look like goat head weeds, noxious weed in the caltrop family, but you know, I'll show you some footage later of a close-up. Like, I don't think that's what it actually is, because the leaf structure is different, and this is just offshoots of a bush going over from my neighbor's yard. So yeah, this looks like goat head weed, but it doesn't have those yellow flowers. It doesn't have the same leaf structure. So if any of you know what this thing is, you know, we'll show you a close-up later. And then this is like a sort of a rose bush, if you even want to call it that, left over from the previous tenant. And I don't even know what this little tree is called, but it doesn't look too bad. It's kind of a champ and hangs in there, but yeah, it's very limited in this environment. That little strip of like ditch dirt on the side, it just doesn't hold enough water. So yeah, this is back to day 1683, 5 days later, after I just sprayed. I'm observing if there's any signs of that spectricide combined insecticide fungicide mix that's is that causing any kind of like leaf burn from being over concentrated. And so far we're not seeing any signs of that. Like these little weeds are I think I actually have a series about this stuff, Scarlet Pimpernel I believe it was called, from like a million years ago. So yeah, these do not look like they're burned in any way. Yeah, so no evidence of burning so far in the same way that we saw before. And yeah, if you look at the tips of these other offshoots, I mean, they look pretty healthy. And if you look at a close-up of what I thought might be this goat heads weed, yeah, that's not what it actually is. You don't have compound leaf offshoots at alternating nodes. You don't have yellow flowers. I haven't gotten any of those goat head burrs. So it's got none of the reproductive features. You know, it's got none of the you can see tiny flowers there. They're like so tiny. But yeah, they don't have the big yellow flowers, big relative to the size of the plant. So it's something different. If you know what that is, please let me know if you're a weed expert. And this thing I actually pulled up earlier in the year because it was just getting too overgrown. And it flowers, but that flowering season is past, and it's kind of just an eyesore at a certain point when the inflorescences die. But yeah, I can't see any signs of burning here. We didn't see any signs of burning for the goat head weeds, the false goat head weeds, if you want to call them that. So yeah, I don't think any of the phenotypes that we just saw with the avocado supposedly burning, that was a one-time thing, and I just never saw it again. So it's not the fertilizer, because I've been fertilizing, watering the same way. It's not anything else. And we saw, if you rewind a few minutes back, you know, like you can see a bug running up in the median of the leaf, and yeah, here's a bird poop caterpillar. But yeah, there was a leaf in one of the avocado seedlings that had 2 burns in the middle of the leaf, and I don't know what that is. It just looks like some insect chewed and diseased, caused a little bit of diseased rot there, and then it was just localized or something like that. So yeah, a few days ago, this bird poop caterpillar was in the exact same spot. They seem to have favorite spots, and when they get really big, like 5th instar or whatever, they camp at the base of the trunk where they're well camouflaged and hidden by foliage. So yeah, so we got you know, multiple problems. We've got this yellowing of the leaf, which I think is a fungal disease, and we just started spraying with you know, the the fungicide basically from Spectricide plus the insecticide. And I'm going to give you a demo of spraying this once again, and the caterpillar, to see how they react to this. But yeah, you can see a relatively tender leaf in the center just a few seconds ago, and it's starting to develop those yellow dots. You can see a fungus gnat there. But yeah, I would say there's a lot of like little specks, and you know, I don't think a lot of this is dust either. It's just all sorts of bugs and pests are trying to camp out on my lemon or any citrus within you know, the entire radius of San Diego, trying to destroy everything from orchards to private gardens. So I think that's what's going on here. And there's another aspect of spraying pesticide, because what I'm spraying in all these examples is not something that's systemic, and it's not something like a dunk that goes into the root system and travels throughout the whole plant. Like, this is all stuff that has a very short half-life, and with rapidly growing plants, it's like you have new foliage coming out, and hence that foliage expands, right? So even if you sprayed it a week ago or 2 weeks ago, the new leaves will be completely untreated, right? Because it's like you sprayed and then all those leaves expanded. There's a lot of plant cell growth, cellular expansion, and yeah, like whatever you sprayed is physically diluted by distance and separation it doesn't spread out with the growth of the leaves, and especially with the growth of new leaves. So yeah, here's me doing another mass fertilizer prep, and I'm diluting what I had last time. So remember I said I was worried that it was over concentrated. So this is almost spent. There's probably 25 to 30% in the bottle. So I figured I'd dilute that, basically almost threefold, and see where that gets us, just in case, even though by analyzing the data, it doesn't really seem that we're having either fertilizer burn or pesticide burn. So I noticed the bird poop caterpillar, you could see it in the footage, like it flinched immediately, like it just recoiled. And that could just because of the wetness and the shock of the temperature change. But yeah, it seemed to have like liquefied and died. So almost, within the hour. This is 90 minutes later, so it's clearly dead. It's on its side, and just gonna get rid of it because it looks like bird poop, so that's annoying, right? So yeah, this is a cutting, that I chopped off with my shears from all those offshoots coming from the bush next door. So yeah, I'm burying it in here, and it's all sticky, and it's doing this annoying routine. But yeah, that could help add some fertilizer. Well, it's basically taking from the plant and giving it back to the plant in form of rot and decay. So this is September already. It's like maybe the second hottest month in San Diego typically. So I can see two sparrows just kind of hopping around. So I was kind of wondering what this sparrow is eating. It's a type of finch, right? So it's pecking at maybe, I'm thinking fungus gnat larvae. Remember there were those little black flies. They seem to be some sort of species of fungus gnat walking around on the surface of the cocoa choir in the last episode in the beginning. So you can see two sparrows darting around, and also a mourning dove, and they seem to be particularly interested. Like at first I was looking out my window, I was really interested in why is it on my lemon pot, but I've seen birds, like a different species, not any of these two, check out the entire perimeter of my avocado seedling pot as well. So that I just don't know what they're looking for. Maybe they do help eat aphids. They're looking at the undersides of the leaves with their super sharp bird vision. But yeah, this mourning doves are very docile. They make that weird noise when they fly away. Their wings do. And I've seen one of these camping out underneath my ice cream bean. But here it's eating the seeds of whatever this weird false goat head weed thingy is. They're just like, it's a matted weed that just covers a lot of space. It's a little awkward because sometimes I want to put my cheap fabric ottoman around the pots and film and do other things. And then these mats of weeds get in the way, but they're providing a lot of food for these birds. And they don't seem to mind the taste of the pesticide and fertilizer runoff, I guess. I guess all that stuff just gets diluted, and the pesticide, fungicide, it loses its potency very, very quickly. So yeah, this is later on. We're getting near the end of the episode. You could see there seems to have been a lessening, if not... yeah, it's not an entire cessation of this onset of whatever this fungal rot or rust or disease is, which I'm fairly confident that's what it is. It's like a fungal problem, and I do have some Physin 20. Haven't tried that, but yeah, I kind of don't like using the hand spraying, the bottle sprayer, because I have to get close, and then sometimes the wind just blows like, I can feel like tiny little droplets blowing onto my like forearm, or sometimes even my lip, and I just get grossed out. And when that happens, like, don't lick your lips, just like go in and like run a bunch of water and wipe, or just take a shower afterwards. But yeah, I feel like I should use the backpack sprayer going forward, and maybe even mix in a little of that Physin 20. I haven't decided yet, but I could mix in some of the leftover Bayer Bio Advanced 3-in-1 with 2 new spectricide products. It doesn't have to be super concentrated, just like have some amount in there. Maybe even under concentrated would be fine, I think. And then just have like several different things and fill it up with 4 gallons of water. That thing has a huge capacity. And to spray all of my plants with a battery backpack sprayer with the wand, the misting wand, like that's super efficient. And I could just make a big prep and maybe use like half a gallon, maybe a gallon to cover all my plants, the entire yard, and then just leave the liquid in there and set it on the table in the garage and basically bring it out like 2 weeks later, a week later, a month later, whenever I decide to spray again. But yeah, I can see some improvement. It's not a complete like game changer at this point, but it seems to have slowed down the rate of leaf rot or rust or whatever you want to call it. And the plant looks more dark green. The leaves look better now. They're bigger. They're darker green. Even in just the very few days since I filmed this, the plant looks bigger. So yeah, the foliage, the shoot system looks way bigger than what I showed you at the end of the last episode. And I keep spraying this stuff because I'm hoping that I can protect this plant and just like halt the leaf rot. So yeah, thanks for watching this episode, and please stay tuned to my YouTube channel for further updates.